let's start class. I really want to pick up where we left off last time. And I think we can start with Julie. If you want to come in. And by the way, I did have another. Yeah, no, I'll say that at the end. How many minutes do you have? Yeah, you have like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, maybe 30. I don't know. It's so easy. If you do the readings, the correct question will just jump out at you. The average score is usually about 17 and a half out of 20. That'll the median score. On the third quiz, it'll be 18 out of 20 because you'll really understand how it's done, and that's that. Okay, so Julie, how you can unmute your mic? Yeah.
Hi.
You how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Nice to see you. And are you in a college dorm room or a college whatever?
No, actually, I'm in State College, but I have a house here.
Yeah, very cool.
2 other girls.
Awesome, man. And have you been here the whole semester?
I have.
Yeah. All right. All right. Very cool. Hey, and what do you study?
I'm actually a social studies education major with a minor in social sciences and theater.
A minor in theater?
Yep.
Oh, that's very cool. All right. That's very cool. Well, listen, I want to ask you a question. Jeff, you can put that first image up. We're going to put those 2 images kind of back to back, actually, if we could. And you have Twitch on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it'll come on in a hot second. But what I want to ask you, so typically we use these images that like you're going to see to depict evolution. Okay.
I see it.
And you've seen these kinds of things before, right?
Yeah.
So look at that one, just show the next one, and then go back to the first one, and then we can get back to Julie and I. I want you to see both of these. And what I want you to know, Julie, is where do you fit people into this image who are not of European ancestry? Where do they go? Like in your mind, like, you look at this image, Jeff, you can go back to there you are. And then just kind of, where do you fit people who are not of European ancestry? Like, where are they? Right. Cause I don't see them here. Like, so where are they?
I think the general depiction of that, like, I don't know why he turns necessarily into a white man, but it just reminds me of kind of how the emojis on Apple are like all yellow. I don't think that people of different like ancestries, nationalities are lower down the line. I just think that last evolved person is just depicted as white the same way Jesus is depicted as white because white people made the picture.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Yeah. Like, Jesus, when's the first time you realized that you had the idea that Jesus was or was not white?
Probably relatively like recently. I would say like in high school, I was like, wait, if he was born in like the Middle East, I don't think he's a white man. Yeah, I know, it's really wild, right? And of course, he's not depicted as white in many areas of the world, right? Like, so I used to work with I lived and used to live in Ecuador. I did my doctoral research there, and I studied the Catholic Church, and especially in rural communities. And they would often have these statues of Jesus, and they would put, campesino clothing on him and stuff to make him look like part of the local culture. And yeah. Hey, so your idea is that so the issue is we depict it as white. We depict the most evolved person as white because white people did this, and that's just what they think. They're not that they think that white people are the most evolved. They just use images of themselves. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, same way, it's not an image of a woman. It's an image of a man.
Oh, you got to sneak that feminist stuff in there, right? I know, exactly. Isn't it crazy? Like, it's always men, because men drew the images. And yeah, I know, that's so crazy. It's not even feminism. I made a joke, but I don't want to make a joke about that, because it's not. It's just human thinking. It's thoughtfulness, right? When you, by the way, I had a question. Okay, so when you, is it striking to you? Like, let me just say this. One day, it really struck me years ago how the degree to which Black and brown people really reject evolution. You know what I mean? Well, you don't know what I mean. So let me just tell you, the degrees to which Black and brown people, certainly in the United States, reject evolution is really high. And part of it is just the connection to more of a kind of fundamentalist evangelical Christianity or Islam with a story that seems to go against evolution in the way that I talked about it last class, right? It's like, now it's about creationism, it's not about evolution. And whoa, I didn't realize I had the wrong camera on. My bad. Okay, here we go. My gosh. And so and then one day I realized, I would reject this too if I didn't look like that, because this thing is basically saying that people that look like me are closer to the person behind the white guy who has darker skin and hair that's not straight and brown and blonde or whatever, than the person who is the final person who's the white guy, right? So if you Jeff, if you put up that second image just really fast, and if you're not really looking carefully at that, they look like kind of the same person. It's just that the person in the image right behind the white guy looks like he has more darkly pigmented skin, looks like he has hair that is twisted, right? It's not, like 1A or 1B hair, it could be, 3A, B, or C, or 4A, B, or C, or something like that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. What is, hang on a second. Hang on. What do you make of, what do you know about how we got different skin colors?
Based on the different history courses I took, skin tone is really just based off the distance you are from the equator.
Uh-huh.
So pretty much the closer you are to the equator, the darker your skin tone is going to be. And you can see that in any graph. It's pretty much dark skin, and then it goes lighter and lighter and lighter, because you don't need as dark of skin the further you get from the equator.
Why not? Do you know why? Do you have a sense of that?
I think it's because you don't need as much vitamin D, because you're not really going to be out in the harsh UV rays as much as someone who would be closer to the equator would.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. By the way, you know more about that than 98% of Americans probably, right? Just that answer right there. Yeah. So the skin has different pigmentations, right? And the dark pigmentation is melanin, and so it turns out that melanin absorbs excessive amounts of UV rays from the sun in comparison to the other pigments of the skin, and because of that, whenever in the skin, it just turns out this way, right? It could have been different, right? It could have been that the pigmentation for lighter skin is the one that protects us the most from the UV rays of the sun. As evolution kind of played itself out, but it turns out that it was the dark pigmentation. Who knew, right? It just was, right?
Yeah.
Again, you think about these DNA markers, right? And it sort of trips this way, or it turns this way at some point, and it turned this way, and so here we are. And so therefore, the body, the more UV rays you're getting, the more melanin you're really going to need, that dark pigmentation, because it's the one that just happens to give us the greatest amount of protection from those ultraviolet rays, which are really dangerous. So that's how we work. Hey, Jeff, can you put up that the one image of the skin? This is the one that Julie just mentioned here.
I think he just put it up, actually. I think.
Oh, he did put it up? Okay, got
Yeah.
it. All right, so you see it. All right, very cool. Hey, so what's a question what kind of question do you have about skin? I know not about skin, about evolution and equality. You just what question do you have when you think about it?
I actually have a kind of funny story about evolution. So I worked at this escape room over the summer. And what I didn't know was that most of the people who worked there were in a very, very strict Christian church. So I made a joke about evolution, and almost all of them were like, "What are you talking about? Like, that's not real." And I was sitting there like, so like, my question is why? Yes, like I'm a Christian, and I understand the aspect of creationism, but why can't it be both? Why is like evolution for like non-Christians?
Yeah. So I think what happens is for many, 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 many very thoughtful Christians, it is both. Christians who embrace science and embrace, that sort of thinking, right? And mind you, I just want to say that, tens of thousands of books and hundreds of thousands of research tracks and an ungodly amount of almost an infinite amount of time has been spent collecting information, collecting data to help us test the ins and outs and complications of evolution, right? So it's just like it would take 100 lifetimes for a human being to even begin to crack into everything that's ever been created, right? That's ever been studied. And the millions and millions of species that exist on Earth, right? If we built a Noah's Ark to contain them all, it would be like the size of Rhode Island or something, But nobody sort of thinks that. So what happens is, I think people have tried to really find the truth somewhere. And a lot of people find the truth in their religious texts, which is lovely, which is fine. But they forget this idea, and now I'm going to speak to Christians and Muslims in particular. They forget the idea that ultimately truth and the belief of that truth from those religious texts is based on faith, not based on fact, it's based on faith. So, if you take a literalist perspective, Jesus never said, "Hey, follow me. This is all about fact. These are the facts, and you follow me," right? Jesus said, if your faith has to be strong, and if your faith is strong enough, it can move a mountain and one thing after another, right? I don't know if he said that. Someone said that. Maybe it was Karl Marx. Who knows? It was one of the popes. No, I think it was Jesus. Do you know you're a Christian? Who said that? If your faith is strong enough, you can move a mountain.
Probably Jesus. I genuinely have no clue.
Yeah. All right. Well, might have been Obi-Wan Kenobi too. But somebody said it once. Okay. So in any case, right? So what happens is then people they take that text and they try to use the text, decipher it, like really read between the lines and use it as a history text. And if you use it as a history text, then nowhere in there does this idea of evolution fit, right? That there was this very long process that God actually operated in a different way than it would appear as though God operated in the holy text of the Holy Bible, and then ultimately of the Quran, which accepts the text of the Bible. So that's why that happens that way. So some people don't want to step outside that comfort zone. And for me, I'm with you. It can be both. Why isn't of course both? I don't have any issue. It's everything. Okay, so let's summarize this. If we go back to those images, the person at the so-called most evolved person is, so this is Homo sapiens, and Homo sapiens could look any number of ways. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you could just go anywhere on Earth and grab a human being, and we could use that image as the most, quote, evolved image. But we don't do that.
Right.
We didn't do that. Hey, so let me ask you this question. Final question. If aliens came to Earth, and this is one of those drinking games. You can do this.
Yeah,
with your
it feels
friends,
like
right?
it.
Okay. Here's a drinking game question. So, if there was if aliens came to Earth and said, "Hey, what we need is for you human beings to select someone on the planet who is most typical of an Earthling. We're going to take this person back to our home planet. Somebody who really is most representative of the greatest number of people on Earth. Who would they look like? Who would we pick?"
I have a joke, but I don't think the chat would like the joke, so I'll probably avoid it.
Wait, what did it have something to do with Philly or Pittsburgh?
No. It has something to do with politics. Probably just like a straight white man, because they're probably the majority.
No. Like if we all came together. I don't mean like if we asked, people in power. I mean, if we all came together as human beings around the planet and said, okay, we got to pick somebody and send them. Who should we send from the Earth?
You want a name?
No, I want to know just like what would they look like? What would they probably look like, or what should they look like? Now, and what I'm doing right here, mind you, I'm pushing you. I'm saying get outside of your room and go out into the world, right? Go out and travel around the world. Take a trip around the planet right now in your mind, right? Who should they look like?
I don't know. To be honest, they should. It doesn't really matter what they look like on the outside, because human beings are 99% the same. So pretty much you choose anyone and you're all going to have almost the same DNA. So we say like, just toss them someone we don't like.
Okay, listen.
Take them away.
Dude, there's probably a lot of people who want to send me probably. Hey, that's a very cool answer, by the way. And yeah, we're 99.99% the same, whatever, just send anybody, it wouldn't matter. But really, so and then another way to say that, another way to see it is like they'd probably be from India or China. They'd be from Asia for sure. They would not be from the West. And they probably wouldn't be from East Asia, Far East Asia. They would probably be maybe Indian, right? I mean, India's, either India or Han Chinese, which is just kind of interesting, right? It's like there's this whole world, this whole life on the other side of the planet that sometimes here in this world that we're living in, if we're not connected to that world, we forget that we are not the representatives of Earth. Just like why did they put a European man on this and not an Indian or South Asian woman? Yeah, in those images. Okay, cool. Yo, awesome. I did more talking in that. I actually wanted to hear from you, but in the end, but you're great.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me before we get going? Any questions about the quiz? You got it?
I think I'm good.
All right. Are you involved in Thon?
Yeah, I am.
Well, yeah. What do you do?
So I'm actually involved through the Penn State Thespian Society.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just raising money through them and everything.
Uh-huh. Cool. Yeah, very cool. And so one of the things, I'll say this final thing and let you go, and then I won't talk about Thon anymore. Thon is really awesome because it gives people it gives many, many people opportunities to volunteer. And when we volunteer once, we're more likely to volunteer twice and 3 times and 4 times and so on. So volunteering is the best predictor of more volunteering, and volunteering is really cool. And so what Thon does is it gives so many thousands of people an experience of volunteering. For many people, their first experience of really significantly volunteering, and that just predicts a greater likelihood on their part of doing more volunteering. So that's aside from any money that it raises, that the fact that it does that for human beings is pretty cool for students. Okay. Thank you. And good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. All right. I will see you. Thanks, Julie. Hey. Oh, it was, I hear in my ear a voice telling me that was Jesus who said that. Hey, let's do Top Hat right now. So in about 15 seconds or 20 seconds or so, the Top Hat question is going to pop up on your screen and or in your app or wherever it is. I don't know. It's going to be there. So, hey, let's go with Nikita. Nikita, man, you can pop your camera on and your microphone and hop into the class. What's happening?
Hey, what's up?
Dude, I'm rocking, man. We might need a little more volume from you. I don't know, Jeff. So where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Manhattan, New York.
Yeah, that's where you were born.
Yes, Lower East Side.
Yeah, Lower East Side. And how about now?
So now my parents moved out of the city, so they're in Westchester now.
Yeah, Westchester.
New Rochelle specifically.
Yeah, how is that?
It's cool. I mean, I grew up in the city like my entire life, so they moved up like last year. So I really wasn't. I was in college. I'm currently a junior. But
so listen, here's the deal. Nikita on the stream. Okay, you ready? Stream. So Nikita's name. Just say your name. So I want to see if people. Does it show up on the stream? Let me see. No, I don't see it. It's hard to see. Bro, say your name for people.
Name's Nikita.
Danielle? Do you say Danielle or Daniel?
Nikita Daniel
Fidalia. I want to know on the stream where you think he's from. What do you think his ancestry is? Nikita. You remember last time? So how about your name, man? Okay, why don't you just tell me? What's your background? Tell us.
So my mom's Russian and my dad is Haitian. So
where'd they meet?
They met in Manhattan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to either Haiti or Russia?
So I've been to Russia one time. But I've never been to Haiti yet, no. But I really do want to go.
Yeah. Do you speak Russian at all?
Yeah, I speak Russian, but yeah.
And how about Creole?
French. No, I don't speak Creole. I can understand some words, but no, I know more French than Creole.
Yeah. So if I say like bonsoir, you got that?
Yeah.
I only know when I'm in Haiti, I learn a bunch of words and I forget them. Hey, so here's what I want to ask you, man. What is a racial group, and how many racial groups are there in the world? So, like, define a racial group for us.
Well, there's obviously white, black, Asian, and then Polynesian, and then South. I feel like there's as many countries as there are, as many different people as there are. I think that's how many races there are.
Yeah. Dude, this is awesome, man. I'm glad we're talking about this question right here, my friend. What's your race, by the way? If you had to answer that, if someone asked you that question, what's your race?
I'd say black and white.
Black and white. So your dad, who's Russian, what if he were from the far east of Russia?
No, he's Haitian. My mom is Russian.
Oh, your mom's Russian. Your dad's Haitian. What if your mom was from the far east of Russia? Would you still consider yourself white?
The Far East. Oh, so more like over Mongolia and that.
Yep, exactly.
Um, I don't know. I mean, over there, there's like, since they're more in, they're still considered European, but they're Asian. They're really close to the Asian countries.
Yeah.
So there's a resemblance there.
All right.
Sir, but I don't know what I would. That's a good question. I don't know.
All right, man. So listen, we're gonna sort this out, all right? By the end of this segment, you're gonna have an answer to that. How about what's the difference between race and ethnicity? So wait, what's a race group again? What is a racial group?
A racial group. Racial group. I would say is it's always for me. It's always a confusion between like ethnicity and race and national, like between those two. But I know ethnicity is your country, like what country you're from, your background.
Mm-hmm.
I think race is very similar to that, but I can't really distinguish the two.
All right, that's cool, man. Yeah, you and most other people.
I know there's a difference.
Dude, how about nationality? What's nationality?
Nationality is like the country you're from. And
okay, what about ancestry?
Ancestry is where your
what's ancestry?
Where your ancestors are originally from. So.
Okay, where people are originally from. And culture, then what's culture?
Culture is, I mean, it can be as a country, but it could also be like on a smaller scale. There can be smaller cultures, but it's like
you mean an example in your own life?
Like a mixture of like the foods, the language, the music. All that really makes up a culture. So whoever's a part of that, yeah.
So give me a subculture that you're part of. Something like in your friend group. Like give me some kind of subculture.
My friend group?
Yeah, like some kind of culture that you're part of.
Well, I would say that I'm part of, I mean, like the Black culture in America. Also the same thing, like white culture. Yeah, I don't know. Also Jewish culture.
Oh, so your mom's Jewish?
Yeah, she's a Russian Jew.
Dude, awesome, man. Yo, you have a really fascinating mix of factors and forces coming together to create you, right? And so, listen, here's the thing. So race, I'm gonna just walk back through a couple of things, right? So when we talk about race, wait, how many race groups do you? Wait, hang on. When we talk about race, we're talking about the physiological characteristics that are unique to particular groups. Okay, that's all. Some kind of group. All right. The physical characteristics, hair, skin, height, weight, on average. I don't mean like, I could go out and I could gain 40 pounds in a month. I mean, that's my average for a population type, right? So we're talking about, so the question is, how do you distinguish which groups we connect to a particular features? So think about all the different features, right? So for you, you grew up in Manhattan, right? You walk down the street, everywhere you turn, it's like somebody looks a little bit different than somebody else. Where do you draw if you put all those people in one auditorium, one big, massive building, like the Jacob Javits Center, and you got to put them into groups, what do you base that group on?
I think people in general initially think about it like the color of your skin, and I don't know. I think in general that might be what people are doing, but personally, or what they're talking about, maybe something that interests you about them, the way they dress, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but I think for me, it's just like because like I have a strong connection to both sides of my family. I guess that it's just different. I don't know.
Okay, dude. So listen, man. By the way, these are really, really difficult questions. You're actually doing a very good job, man. And you're also a perfect person to be answering this question because of who you are. And these are really hard questions. So here's the issue. Race represents the physiological or physical characteristics, right? The stuff that we can see, and then stuff that we really can't see, but they distinguish particular groups of people. The problem is you have to decide what groups those are. Like, you have to put people in a group, say like, okay, you're this race. If let's say we had 1,000 people in a room, okay, and we just randomly select 1,000 people in New York City, and we're going to put them into groups that make sense. Like, okay, you're going to be this race, and you're going to be that. You're going to be race A, and you'll be race B, and you'll be race C, and so on. In the end, it's just a random process of deciding what we're going to use to determine. It could be shape of the ear. It could be the shape of the nose. It could be the way the eyes are. I mean, anything, right? It could be a mix of things. And then once you go there, it's just an infinite number of factors and forces that we could use to decide what the different racial groups are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay, so the issue then is, okay, who decides on what those factors are? It could be skin color. That's it. It's just skin. There's nothing else. People with the darkest skin, we just put them off over here, and people with other skin. Okay. It could be the countries they come from. You alluded to that in when you were first talking. It's like, well, maybe it's the country, but what about a country where they're basically the same race? It's just two different countries. Like, I don't know. Right. Like we could say, like, what about Venezuela and Colombia?
Yeah.
Right.
What differs, I think, is the cultures. And
okay, now you're moving into a different question. Now you're moving into ethnicity. So you're right. Like, ethnicity is really related to culture, and so these are things that we learn. And culture we really can connect it to ethnicity, but we can really take a deep dive into culture and be like, you mentioned Russian Jews. But within Russian Jewish culture, there's so many other subcultures and sects and groups. And then within your friends who are in Russian Jews, there are those who are like into skateboard culture, right? Yeah. They're their own culture, the subculture, right? So they're part of all these other cultures, but they're also part of this culture. Or they could be like, I don't know, into hip hop or metal. They could be metalheads. They're into that culture, or D&D. I don't know. Right. So there's an infinite number of cultures, and literally there's an infinite number of racial groups in the world, because you can't ever decide where you're going to cut, where you're going to draw the lines. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So now, nationality. What'd you say about nationality?
Nationality, I really said it was about the country that you've been raised in.
Yep. Okay, cool. Yep. It's about the country. And, most wars in the world today are being fought over nationality and boundaries and borders, because within nation states, there are lots of different cultures. Like you take, the civil war that's happening in Morocco with the Western Sahara. And you think, oh my God, right? Like, there're just so many, the war in Sudan, wherever we want to go. It's just these ethnic groups that somebody right now in Ethiopia, that a group decides, hey, we are a unique culture. So in the Tigray region in Ethiopia, there's like a separatist movement that people feel like they're unique. They have a unique culture, and they want to break off from the larger national group. And then, does that make sense?
Yeah, it is kind of crazy how there's it's just about what piece of land you happen to have been raised on. Like, what part of the earth you happen to have been born on.
Dude, exactly. And think about Russian Jews who live all over. There are Russian Jews who are Americans. There are Russian Jews in Israel. Russian Jews in the West Bank. Russian Jews in Russia. Russian Jews in the UK who speak with a British accent. You know what I mean? It's just like, what? Okay, so that's all part of that culture. And ancestry, by the way, it's where your ancestors are from, but increasingly, this is something I want to talk to you. You'll hear me use ancestry a lot. Like I'll ask people what their ancestry is. Ancestry is like a coming together of all the trains coming to the station at the same time. It's like your race, your ethnicity, your nationality, your culture, your genealogy, your background, your family, as you said. So I'll oftentimes talk about ancestry, and it's really about that. Mm-hmm. So dude, once again, how many racial groups are there in the world?
An infinite amount.
Dude, yeah. And why is that?
It's just about who you identify as, and it's really nothing else in that, I think. And
no, dude, here it is. You ready? You know you got it. But here, let me help you. That is true. There's another piece to it that's really important that you get. It's also the fact that if you put everybody together, if you were in charge of in Manhattan, you couldn't talk to people. You just had by nature of what they look like. You couldn't talk to them. You couldn't talk about what language they speak. There's nothing. You were in charge of dividing them into race groups. Okay? Races. You'd never be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like you'd put two people together side by side who would be from completely different parts of the world and be like, oh, you're the same race. And one, I don't know, would be like, Turkish, and, one would be from, I don't know, Chile. And one from, I don't know,
It's impossible to tell. It's just, I guess the first thing people see when they come face to face to another person, for some reason, back whenever they decided to create identified races, I guess the first thing they looked at was skin color.
Yeah, dude.
And so, unfortunately, that's something that we've inherited as how society's structured.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's my opinion.
Dude, very cool. No. That's a really cool thing. Yep. And there are a lot of people like me, people in my position or anthropologists or so on, who would like to get rid of the word race altogether, myself included. But it's just so hard to talk about these issues without using it that we just use it. But it does not mean what people think it means. Yeah. Awesome, man. Hey, say something in Russian. Say congratulations, thon dancers in Russian.
Congratulations, thon dancers. Здоровья, thon dancers. Спасибо для всего, что ты делаешь.
Dude, awesome, man.
I'm not very fluent, but I can understand, but I got some words in the vocabulary, in the dictionary.
Well, listen, man, if you're far more fluent than I am. So, hey, thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yo, man, keep rocking. What year are you, by the way?
Currently a junior.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, thanks, man. I'll see you. Yeah. Hey, let's by the way, I did see man, this is what Nikita and I just talked about right there is really essential for understanding the lay of the land in this world of race and ethnicity that we're dealing with all the time, man, in culture. So, and by the way, it's one of the reasons you can sort of see this. It's one of the reasons I teach in the way I teach, right? I could just put the definitions up, and then you could try to memorize them, and then you would forget them. Or, by the way, if you think like, oh, you wish you had the definitions, there's this thing called Mr. Google that all of those words, you can go out and ask Mr. Google what they are, and you got all night. You got all day, you got all night, you got all weekend. You can find all those things, but at least you'll walk into it with this idea of kind of what I'm talking about. Hey, Judy, let's bring you on really fast. I want to keep Alan to the end. Judy, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm rocking and rolling.
That's great.
Yeah. And where are you?
I'm in Saudi Arabia currently.
You are inside, and so you're awake. Well, it's not that late, actually.
Yeah, it's actually, to make sure, 11:50 p.m.
Hey, so do us a favor and say congratulations. It's not just dancers. It should be volunteers in Arabic.
مبروك للمتطوعين ثان. I hope
Cool.
that's right.
Well, you'll find out if it's not. If you keep watching the chat, I'm sure it is. And where are you in Saudi?
I'm in Jeddah right now.
In
Yeah,
Jeddah?
gorgeous weather today.
And where are you? What year are you?
I'm in my second year studying landscape architecture.
Oh, very cool. All right. So listen, you're gonna. Do you have Twitch on? You do, right?
Yeah,
All right, very cool. So Jeff, can you put that first slide up, that one photo? You're just gonna take a quiz.
Twitch is kind of late when it comes to comparing it with Zoom. So
yeah, Twitch is behind the photo with the people at the soccer game, at the football game, Jeff. Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry about that. We skipped over those other ones. Yeah. So Judy, what I want is wait, is Judy the name you've taken just as your like kind of American nom de?
I get this question a lot. No, it's my name. It's always been my name, and it's an Arabic name actually. Yeah.
Yeah. What and in Arabic it is. And so in Arabic, how do you pronounce it?
Judy.
Judy. Okay.
It's the same.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, look on Twitch. You see that photo?
Yeah, I do see the photo.
Okay. Where are those people from? Well, first off, what's their race?
I'm gonna assume somewhere from Africa. I'm gonna make that mistake of assumption. Yeah.
What's their ethnicity?
I have a problem with differentiating between race and ethnicity. So
when you think ethnicity, think culture.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's really easy to kind of link ethnic culture, we link it a lot to kind of nationality, larger geographic domains, okay? Not essentially, not borders per se, like national borders, but geographic areas. As opposed to culture could be like all the subcultures, like the things that you and your friends are into would be like if you're really into chess, you might be like in the subculture of the chess players in Jeddah,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So we go back to that photo. So what's their ethnicity? Where do you think they're Africa? What's their ethnicity? Like say something about them.
Maybe because you know what? Actually, Africa are like big fans of soccer, so I would say somewhere maybe in Northern Africa, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say what. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the general idea. I cannot specify.
Okay. All right. So the country is, they are actually from Equatorial Guinea. Okay. Which gained independence from Spain in, I don't know, the late 60s, maybe 67 or 68. It's actually an Hispanic country. Spanish is the main official language. So, they also speak French, they speak Portuguese, but Spanish is the official language. And being Hispanic, one of the key cultural features of any nation or any group that we determine to be Hispanic is they derive an essential part of their culture from Spain, and so an essential part of the culture is language.
Yes.
And so it's considered to be one of the, an Hispanic country. Not by, we can cut this up. It's a pie. We can slice it in lots of different ways, but you can argue that they're Hispanic. And Equatorial Guinea is, as you would imagine, right in the equator of Western Africa, tiny little country, ruled by.
Not that far off.
Yeah. Well, you were wrong about the fact that Africans are not that into soccer. Yeah. Everyone seems to be into soccer. All right, put the next photo up, if you would, Jeff. And yeah, so this is the thing, right? We see people, and how do we know who they are or what they are, right? We sort of. Okay, so I'm going to show you. I want you to take a quiz here when this pops up in a second. No, the quiz. The next. Yeah, here we go. Which one's Navajo? Which one's Peruvian? Navajo is American Indian tribe. Which one's Peruvian and which one is Han Chinese?
The pictures. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. Navajo is the one with the blue background. Peru is the one below it, and the one next to it would be Han Chinese. That would be my guess.
Oh, and why do you say the woman on top is Navajo? What about her?
I think because of the longer face, I dragged away from Han Chinese. And I guess I have that image in my head that the Chinese have more of a rounder face. And I guess the skin color of Peruvian made me say that they might be on the more American side, and that's why not Navajo.
Okay, so the woman on top is Native American. She is Navajo. The bottom left is Peruvian, and the bottom right is Chinese. You're right. She's Han Chinese. Now, and so the thing is, though, if we compare their DNA is very, very, very similar, right? If we look at the admixture of each one, because they really are deriving their DNA from very, very, very similar population groups. We'll talk about that later. I don't have time to talk about it today, but yeah. But if you look at them, you really just see. We're gonna put the next one up, Jeff. If you or Darnisha, I don't know which one of you are putting them up, but so in this one, I want to ask a very similar kind of thing. So which one is American? So you're gonna see 4 images here, and so the question then is, which one is actually American versus Asian?
Okay, I'm waiting for the picture.
What do you think?
Between A, B, C, and D, which one is American?
Yep, only one is American, actually.
I want to make the mistake of saying that B is American because of the way they're dressed, but I feel like this is a trap. So, C?
Yeah, it's A, actually. But you're just guessing. I mean, I don't know. I would be guessing.
I am.
But here's the thing: if we compared their DNA admixture, they'd be exactly the same. One, the folks in the picture A, they live on one side of the Bering Strait, and they're Eskimos, right? They're up in Alaska, and the other 3 people live right on the other side, right? So their ancestors never crossed over the Bering Strait, and the other ones did. And it's like, okay, it's like the Saudi Arabia and the UAE or Oman. I mean, you got this desert in between, but come on, if you have family differences, right? That's like really, really key. But go to the next slide if you would, Jeff. I'll show you this. So this is with the map. So the issue is that we have this slight difference in where people live, that one's on one side of this strait, right? So you can see in this map, like see where that arrow is, right between the US and Russia, right, and Siberia. It's one's on one side and one's on the other side, but their DNA is the same. They're really exactly the same. But then one becomes an American. One is either Asian or Siberian, Russian, and then you decide, okay, wait, if they're Siberian, Russian, are they European? Because Russia is a European country, but part of Russia extends into Asia. So are they European or are they Asian, or what do you think? Would you call them Asian or European?
I would call them Asian because of where they're located. I mean, most of Russia is on the Asian continent, but you can't fight with politics.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, this next guy, Jeff, put the, or Darnisha, put the next guy up. And I want you to ask, so it's a similar kind of thing, right? So I want you to tell us, so what do you mean you can't fight politics, by the way?
I mean, they are considered a European country because of borders and stuff, but the location is an Asian continent. That's why I would say. But
yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Very smart. All right, this guy right here, where's he from?
Siberian? Regarding the topic?
No.
I wouldn't know.
Would you call him Asian, or would you call him something? What would you say when you first saw him?
Asian.
You'd say Asian?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you'd be kind of, once again, very similar. He's from Kazakhstan. Another a republic of the Soviet Union, former republic, right? It's in Central Asia, but nobody really talks about Central Asia. Is Central Asia like is it Eastern Europe or Central Asia or Kazakhstan, right? So if you put Jeff, if you put the next, if you guys could put the next slide up and just look at this map, and Kazakhstan is this, this green country right here. Hang on one second. Right in the center of the screen is the green. And so what is that, right? Is it Asia? Is it Europe? Like, what are they? What would you say?
Oh, wow. That's a map. Okay. No, Central Asia is Central Asia. Europe is like way far off, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. But then look at the Soviet Union, right? Just go right above that, and you're really in Western Russia. So that's Europe.
Mm-hmm.
You see the complexity of this, right? Okay, we're going to do one more here. We're going to put this next photo up, and you can tell us. Hey, by the way, where do you consider Saudi Arabia to be?
The Middle East.
Okay.
There should be like a part that's just called the Middle East and just leave it at that, because, I mean, we're a lot in such small space. To this day, I honestly don't know if we're considered Asian or African.
Uh-huh. What do you hear people use both?
Yeah, actually.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, but most people would eventually like settle down to, where is Saudi Arabia? The Middle East. That's it. Nobody would consider saying Asia or Africa, because, I mean, they're quite different and they're quite far away from where Saudi Arabia is, snuggled in the middle.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? People say the Near East, right? Mm-hmm. People say Central Asia. People say there are lots of things that folks say. Yeah, it's really fascinating.
I think maybe they would be considered Africa more, because having more of the Middle East and the Arab countries also in Northern Africa. So I guess just like include that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I mean, you're thinking out loud.
No, this is good. Yeah, this is good. Listen, there's a lot of contentious debate about this, right? I mean, and then you have the geographers, people who have very clear ideas about it, but then, we throw things out. Hey, if you all can put that next slide up with the final photo here. And it is one of these things where we're just endlessly talking about like, well, what's this and what's that? And it matters because it really shapes how we think about these things and how we talk about them. So we have one more image that's coming up. And what I want to know from you is, what's the ancestry? What's the race of these people, first off? What do you think? What's their race?
Okay, Asian.
Asian?
Yeah, I think they're more of like the Indonesian area of the world, like that below Asia. Islands.
Yeah, what gives that what gives you that impression?
I'm familiar with how Filipinos look like, and they look very similar. and the shape of the eyes, the shape of the nose, and all of that, their skin is darker. So that would suggest that they're an island closer to the equator. So I guess having all of that together, maybe actually, I think maybe oh my god, I forgot what's it called. That island below India or next to India. What's it called?
So yeah, so there. Go ahead.
I forgot.
They're from Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
Yeah, and they are, there's like if we look at the map, the human migration map, there's just a line of migration that goes right out of Africa and right over across southern Europe. I mean southern South Asia and right into the island area. So Indonesia, Malaysia, Papua New Guinea, and so on. And the darkest skin people in the world, where we see skin, and we measure skin tone by taking measures underneath the arm right here, because that's your natural, that's what basically never sees the sun at all. And so we generally take skin tone measurements from there. And we see the darkest people in the world are generally people from South Asia, from that region, not from Africa.
I didn't know that.
I mean, it's all relative. You can find somebody somewhere, but just consistently, we see really darkly pigmented people. Hey, awesome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's very cool. Maybe we'll bring you back on. We're gonna have a class on Islam.
Great. I'll be there.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Thanks. Be well, Judy.
You too.
Yeah. Ciao. Hey, okay, y'all. Let's go with let's bring Alan on. Alan on. Alan, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Alan Arechiga Calderon. What's your ancestry?
Well, funny enough, my sister just got her ancestry DNA thing a little bit ago, and her and I were born very close together, like a year and a half apart. So I just took what my sister said, and I'm calling it my own, since everyone basically calls us twins. So I would say we're the majority, like 80% Spanish and Hispanic, and then we got nice little dips of European, Western European, African, but the most noticeable is the Spanish.
All right. And where are you? Are you in State College or are you somewhere else?
No, I'm close, but I'm not in State College.
Yep. All right, man. So here's a question for you. You all, if you can put that one question up, which of these race ancestry categories is not like the others? And so, Alan, what I'd like you to do is just answer this particular question for us here. Which of these race ancestry categories is not like the others?
And it's only one, right?
No. There's only one. What do you mean?
Only one answer.
Yep. Well, no, I mean, they're you could pick any of them out, but which is not a race category? How about that? Which one's not a race category?
Well, I would say, that's difficult because you could always make an argument for some of these. I would say Asian.
Well, you would be, according to what I'm going to talk about, you would be wrong. It would be Hispanic.
Is it? Why is that?
Well, because think about Hispanic. What's your ancestry? Just let's look at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's your family from?
So
you are Hispanic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your family from?
Well, from mostly all over, but according to the parts of Hispanic, it's northern Mexico and southern Texas.
Okay. So before they got to Mexico, where are they from?
Spain.
But hang on. But when the Spaniards came over and they started conquering what is in South America, who is in South America?
I'm not sure. I don't know the history of that.
But you okay? So people were living here, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the Spanish took the land.
Yeah.
Okay, so the indigenous peoples, like, bro, like, look at, like, if I look at your nose, if I look at you,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you probably have some indigenous blood somewhere in your DNA,
Mm-hmm.
right? Did it show that?
Yeah. I mean, it said, it was very generalizing. It just said Native American, but when it specified, it said Northern Mexico.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so did you do the 23andMe test or the Ancestry.com test?
I think it was 23andMe.
So one of the population group that they often use is like southern Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, northern Mexico. It's the same population group, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that Siberia in US one. So that means you have Native American blood, indigenous blood, meaning so you have blood that people crossed over the Bering Strait, came into the Americas, populated all of the Americas, North America, Central America, South America, right? The Spanish come over from Spain, conquer it. Now this blood mixes together. And then you have African blood as well, right? If you all could put that one map up right here. And then you have Africa. Did you say you have African blood?
Yeah, like little droplets of African.
Okay, man. So here, look at this map. This is a map of the slave trade, but what you see is all of the sort of the different population groups that come together to create what we identify as a cultural category, which is Hispanic. We call it, we think it's a race category, but it's a race category made up of Africans, Europeans, and indigenous peoples. So you see all these lines are coming into the Americas. And then you have the lines of the people that were already there coming down from Siberia. And so and you're represented in that. You have all three coming together, right? So Hispanic is a sociological category composed of white people, which you're white, black people, and you're black, right? You have African blood, you have white blood, and Asian people, and you're Asian, you have Asian blood. So you have like all three. And so Hispanic is composed of that. Mm-hmm. But yet we put them together and we ask people, what's your background? Like, you apply to Penn State. They say, are you black? Are you white? Are you Asian? Are you Hispanic? Are you Native American? Mm-hmm. But Hispanic stands out. It's a unique sociological category, whereas the other ones are referencing physical characteristics.
Mm-hmm. No, I see why I got that wrong, though, because I knew that in the back of my head, but for many years, I always just immediately jumped to hearing Native American and thinking within the United States. I never thought that the rest of Northern and Southern America were still considered Native American land.
Awesome, man. Awesome. That's what happens to a lot of us. Like in the back of our minds, like we have this idea of something, we kind of have a sense of it, but we don't ever put the pieces together like you right here just did, right? Mm-hmm. So listen, man. If that's it, let me ask you then, who's Latin America? Who's Latin American?
Well, Latin America would be anyone whose ethnicity roots in countries from Southern America.
All right, man. Okay, that's very cool. Hey, by the way, class, the top hat question is going up in about 15 to 20 seconds. So Alan, make sure that okay, so anybody is Latin America, which is where? Mexico on down?
Well, no, because Mexico is Northern America. So like the countries right below Mexico, I forget all the countries. I know Chile's in there, Brazil, and a bunch of other ones in Southern America would be considered Latin America, at least to the definitions I've gotten from it.
Okay. So Mexico would be part of Latin America though. But you got Mexico's North America, right? So Canada, US, Mexico. Mm-hmm. In Central America?
I never classified any countries as Central America. I just sort of kept it in my head as North and South and anything that lied on that.
Okay. So, but here you go. Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, right? Central America. And then south of that, now we walk into Colombia and Venezuela and South America, right? What's the reason that we use Latinx instead of Latino or Latina?
Well, I don't know the official reason, but the reason I would think is because in the languages they speak down there, which one of them would be Spanish, usually would categorize gender to specific words. You would say Latino for men and Latino for girls. So Latinx seems like a gender neutral way of saying both of them.
Mm-hmm. So that meaning that, but if you have a group of women together, if you have a group of men and women together, we would call them Latinos, which is masculine.
Right. Yeah, that seems more like accurate to the linguistics, but that's not what came up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Latinx is this way of being just gender neutral. It's kind of a nice way. You can talk about men, women, both together, separate. It doesn't really matter. So are there Black Latinos?
I mean, I think that kind of goes back to what you were talking about how do you define Black as a race? Like, because that could mean so many things and you could break it down forever. But I would say, just to answer the question, yeah, there would be.
Okay, and what do you typically, what would you call them? Wait, why would there be, by the way?
Well, because of all the migration and I forget exactly what the slave moving around, the slave trade it was. There was a lot of different mixing of groups, and when groups mix, generally they tend to, I don't want to curse, but they tend to have sex all around. So there's like a good mix of the gene pools, and by the definitions we came up with, a good mix of the races.
Okay, cool. And there are a lot of areas in Latin America where there was very little mixing. So if you go to like the western northern coast of Ecuador and you go to a town like Esmeraldas, it was a slave port. And you go in that town and you immediately feel like you come out of Ecuador and you're in Africa. It is a Black town. And like, whoa, okay. Or you have Haiti, right, compared to the Dominican Republic. Okay, so who are West Indians?
West Indians?
Yep.
Like, do you mean like in the historically used phrase, like West?
Yeah, no. If you have a friend and they identify as West Indian, what are they saying?
Well, geographically, that would mean the western part of India.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're talking about Latin America here. So if they say like, yeah, I'm West Indian.
I don't know, I've never heard that. Unless they mean like West Native American.
Okay, so all right, so West Indian, right? Mm-hmm. It includes like the Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, Caribbean, not really the Caribbean, right? The Caribbean's separate. And then you have the Afro-Caribbean, right? The Black Caribbean. So like Haiti is part of the Afro-Caribbean. It's the Black Caribbean. You have West India. And so a lot of people just put it all together, right? You know why it's called West India?
No, why is it?
No idea?
No.
Dude, Christopher Columbus, when he set sail from Spain, he set sail from Huelva. He had the idea, he was searching for another path to India. And when he arrived, he decided this is West India. This is the western path of India. It's the western part of India. So we just called it West India. So West Indians. And people still call it that, right? Okay, who are Hispanics? What's the difference between Hispanic and Latin America? Or Latin American?
Well, I don't think I've ever heard a distinct. Well, no, not exactly, because Hispanic has always been what I would hear people call people from Latin America and people from Mexico, or if we consider it Mexico a part of Latin America, then people from Central and Latin America would be people you can call Hispanic.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man. So Hispanic, is Brazil Hispanic? Is it a Hispanic country?
By the definition, I have, yeah, it would be.
No, it's not, man. Hispanic derives its ancestry from Spain. Brazil is not. Brazil was given to the Portuguese. Since they speak Portuguese in Brazil, so it's not an Hispanic country. It's a Latin American country, but not an Hispanic country. It's a South American country, right? It's a Latin American country, but it's not an Hispanic country.
Right? You see, that's how I considered it. I only considered it, geographically. If it was on a certain continent, then Hispanic.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? If you say I'm Latin American, that's fine. And you say I'm Hispanic, that's fine. You're both of those, right? If you say I'm an American, that's fine. North American, it's fine, right? But if you were from we have students in class from Brazil, they're Latin American, but they're not Hispanics, right? That goes back to the other segment that we did on Equatorial Guinea, right? Okay, so you have white people, white Latin Americans, we have black Latin Americans, we have Indians, right? I mean, these are all the words that we use, and we throw them all together. And they all comprise this kind of world of Hispanic, Latinx, I don't know, like it's all like, this is why these things are really difficult to talk about, because you are essentially have been put together as a sociological category that is much more fluid and much more difficult to define, as opposed to just saying, yeah, here, this is dude Alan, who's, white or black or something. I don't know. It's pretty cool, right?
No, yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like it's a lot to do with we want a standardized categorization, but I don't think we have I don't think most people want to put in the effort to go beyond what they can physically see. And we've gotten this weird mixture of people who care about it and have given new words and definitions for it, and people who stick to the base words. And then you throw all those words together, and people who don't know who came up with what, they don't know who to call what.
Dude, very cool, man. Yeah, that's very cool. I like that. I agree with you fundamentally. Hey, thanks for joining. Yeah, it's really cool. You learned a couple of things, right? About yourself. Like, who knew? All right, man. Be well. Have a safe weekend. Good luck on the quiz, or not. C's are in degrees. It's all good. All right, man. Okay, be well. Thanks, man. Thanks, everybody. And Julie and Nikita, also thanks. Thanks for hopping on, and have a great weekend, everybody.
So there's a bit of a issue with some students, and when dialogues are happening for 119, I talked to the team. We're going to try to reschedule so there's no more 119 dialogues right before class starts or the beginning part of class. If you are a student who had an issue where you did a dialogue before coming to Social 19, started at like 2 o'clock or something, either send me a whisper, or we'll try to just get your emails down and try and give you some points back for the packbacks you may have missed, because you shouldn't have been missing those because of dialogues.
All right, man.
That's it.
All right, cool. All right, y'all. Have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.